Out of the night that covers me, black, black, black is the pitch from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul.
In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody. My head is bloody. My head is bloody. 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 My head is bloody. My head is bloody. My head is bloody. But I'm bowed. Done.
Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid.
It matters not how great the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Yes. And so
well, Mike,
what's up,
that's
Creepy?
an old one. That's an old one, man. That's an old one. That's going back 20-something years, man, when I was just first into business.
Wow, that was amazing. How you doing, Creepy?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. Good to see you again, B. You know, I snuck in under his stupid ass, man. I'm back here and opening the show, man. Because who's going to turn it for him, man? I'll be here for me.
always good to see you, baby.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we'll be back, man. My good friend Raphael's on. It's, you know, he's up in Vienna, man. So we'll see him soon.
I know now we've gone international and interdimensional with Creepy Baby.
Yeah. You know, that was a crazy video. I used to work at a film rental house, and the guy that owned the film rental house, we would all get together, man. Everybody loved making movies. We were making shorts. Awesome. Everybody had an idea for a short, and that was one he had on that poem Invictus, which is.
I love it, and I love the fact that just like I think that's another way that you and I connect is that we can what's the word I'm looking, participate in something like that on many different levels. Like you did the music for that, and you did the
music and edited that thing. Actually, that editing that was one of my favorite pieces for a long time. I learned so much on that one, man. You know, cool. Like came in after I was done. I was all like, good. This was when like Seven, that movie Seven, and all the David Lynch things with all the
yeah. I could, you know what? I could see the kind of the like movie titles, like the inspiration.
That's exactly what it came out. We all wanted to be making movies, man. So we made our own little mini movie. Yeah,
totally. Julie needs our autograph because we're international and interdimensional, Julie, and interdimensional.
Interdimensional, man. It's like a way whacked out place out there. I gotta tell you. So what's up, Mr. Zen? How's the world in Zen's world?
Things are going good, man. You know, I feel like things are getting chaotic outside of the Zin's world, but inside things are really gelling. And you mean in the world at large, or in the world at large, the world outside? Yes, the 3-dimensional realm that we're pedaling through right now.
Yeah, I don't know where that
is. Yeah, luckily you left a while ago. Thankfully we could still communicate and hang out once in a while.
It's a crazy, 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 crazy world. Well, it's going to be a super fun show tonight.
I know.
Couple of fun things happening. First of all, my erstwhile friend and cohort in crime on the deck to begin with, Raphael Kamensky, is here to say bad things about me.
No, I don't think anyone.
And awful things about the deck, and it should be a really good show.
I don't think anybody.
Actually, he's like such a dry. He's like the 80s FM DJ.
He has an awesome vibe.
So I always tease him about he's Spock, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm like Captain Kirk, and all look crazy out there.
He's watching the show right now. He's in the chat. There he is. Act like you know. Yeah, right. He's just chilling watching the show. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to hear what he's been up to. He and I did this was a while back. COVID kind of blew this up, but we did I think 62-hour shows from Vienna over there on a network called Okie Talk. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna share that link.
Week we did our weekly thing, and then all of those shows are now archived on Odyssey. I think I sent you that.
So
link.
yeah, so what is Odyssey exactly? I do have that link. I'm gonna put it up. Odyssey. It looks like it's kind of like a YouTube, right?
It is kind of like a YouTube, and actually Raphael's the one that turned me on to that. So, he would be the one to really bring his ass in here, man.
I will. You know what? I'm also going to put in the chat right now. I'm putting the link to this, which is his channel on Odyssey. And welcome to the show, Raphael. There he is.
Yeah.
Welcome, gentlemen. Well met.
What's up, my brother?
How you doing, my friend?
We're back. You thought you had made it away, but here we are, back again.
There is no escape. Not really.
There is no escape. Yes.
So that's cool. Odyssey is I guess your version of YouTube, or like just a
so one could say it's a great choice. Others could say it's a terrible choice. So it's great for being censorship resistant, and it's also particularly great for if you just check Library, which is the, let's say, background company or original company behind it, LBRY, and you just go for LBRY YouTube sync, then you follow 3 steps which take you 3 minutes, and your complete YouTube channel gets synchronized to Odyssey.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's particularly great if you have any type of contentious content, especially during those past years, which is why I wasn't even publishing any of the shows of YouTube. We didn't really do well with the marketing there, although there's lots of interesting content, and some friends really watched it religiously, or were like, oh, I'm just following up on this and these hours. I'm like, wow, people doing the marathon. But for reach, YouTube still is the thing, but it's definitely great to have everything backed up there and also promoted, because a lot of information which you simply cannot find anymore, clips and bits and interesting things, they do live on Odyssey, and you can find stuff which 10 years ago you could have found on YouTube. So
are you finding people are finding you on Odyssey, finding your content?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you have to send them, because for pushing things and randomly finding,
there's no algorithm or anything.
There is for sure, and there's a follow system, and there's a tag system, and there's groups and so on.
Right.
I'm not sure about recommendation algorithm. Actually, I would have to look into that. But just in terms of audience, everybody knows YouTube. And it just takes a long time, for people coming from the future, like maybe all of us, and maybe many viewing, takes some time to synchronize till everyone catches on that, maybe these things should be used more. But it does exist. It's grown a lot. And especially for alternative community and information, it's been invaluable, I would say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's why I was wondering, because I think people are looking for alternatives now to YouTube, just because even though it does have the reach and the base, it also is experiencing censorship and different issues where people are like, hey, what's going on here, and looking for alternatives. So I figured it was an alternative kind of information and content. So maybe you are finding that good audience there.
Hey, I want to say hey to Jilly and Tammy and all the kids out there.
Yeah, what's up, people? Welcome to the Fool. We never did the actual intro. Welcome to the Fool's Journey as the journey continues.
Hey, Jilly! What the hell, man? Gonna have to come down and party.
Oh, creepy baby's calling you out, Jilly. So there's also, I'm going to just share this real quick. There's also, I'll put the link up as well. This is what Brian is talking about. So these are the shows that Raphael did with Brian the Wizard of Oz episodes. It's a specific playlist that you could find. Let me just.
What's kind of cool about these is that they cover, the show we're doing now really is tarot specific, and when we venture out into some a lot of side jags, but those shows were kind of crazy. Most of those were like 2 hours long. We went into some really crazy things like grimoires, all the famous grimoires, and there's some pretty in-depth practice videos at the very beginning of that go
awesome.
Into, the whole like telekinetic thing and the aura thing, that sort of stuff. So.
I think not to forget on episode, I believe 47 or who knows which one, 36, called Telekinetic Conference or Telekinetic Teleconference. I even invited a friend who also then just maybe 1 year prior has gotten into this kind of psychic effects or physical effects actually. Yeah. And then you basically see Brian spinning the rods, in his room or something. And this friend of mine, a woman, and she's holding her hand towards this also like a rod and like a small piece of paper on top, and it's also rotating. And she just had told me, she just learned the basics of that or heard about it, and I was like, let's connect you guys just to maybe show the audience in the way like everyone can always believe what they want, but this seems like something that you can actually learn.
Exactly.
It's amazing. Brian wants everybody to know. Brian is like dying for everybody to just get
I'm the Johnny Appleseed of magic.
It's awesome. No, it's awesome, and I love that he shares it with us all. And you could feel the energy. It's really great. It's definitely.
So Raphael, why don't you tell these guys how we met, man? How? Well, here, let me do the setup. I had kind of just finished very first edition of the deck and had sent this out to some websites. And the main one was Eclectic Tarot at the time. And that, at this time, that was like the clearinghouse of every deck that had ever been printed, pretty much, and people all over would go to look at different decks, and to be included in the new upcoming decks was a really great boon to anything that you were trying to get out. And it was an amazing site because there were a lot of readers on there. Like, I learned so much from the threads on there about specific cards and the debates on like people's takes on different things. All that information is still up there. That site's still up. Kate, the woman that ran it and was a kind of visionary about it, I think she retired and sold it to somebody. But the site's still there, and there are card meanings and those things, and all those old threads are still there as well. It's eclectic, and it's spelled with an A-E, not just an E.
I like that.
EclecticTarot.com. Yeah.
Nice.
And give it a whirl. I think
cool.
you would find it really cool. Anyway, I sent it not really expecting to get any result to Kate at Eclectic, and she sent me back and said, "Hey, would you like to be in the new? I've never seen anything like this. Would you like to be in the new tarot, the new deck column?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." So that first edition got out, and I was in the middle of working on the second edition, making the billion corrections that needed to be done, and I'd also upgraded the visuals on it, and it was pretty much just reconstructing the deck from the ground up, learning from all the stuff I screwed up on the first one. And Raphael contacted me, and he goes, "Hey, what's up? Like that deck?" And boom,
there you go. That's awesome. It's amazing how many people have connected with you through the internet, and that you have this vibe with, and create these relationships. It's awesome. I love that.
I was sitting there doing kind of an assessment of the people that have become close to me over the last decade or so, and pretty much without exception, everybody I really interact with now, like in some way or the other, is connected with the deck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, it was a big part of you,
It's connecting people all over.
Yeah, but it's a big part of you, so it's connecting your soul, and it's got a consciousness and all of that stuff we talk about all the time.
That's true.
That's great, awesome. All right, so are we going to get into the fours, or I see Raphael's shuffling a deck over there?
Yeah, what you got going on there, Raphael?
Basically, I just wanted to show, maybe you can tell by the edges, this deck actually has been used quite some, and it's not the newest. And even now, though, and also this could be interesting to anyone in Europe, I still have some of Brian's decks on deck in Europe. So if anyone doesn't want to cover the shipping from US, I can handle it, or just write Brian and he'll connect you.
Awesome.
But this obviously is
Brian's
not the new
international distribution, man. That's
exactly. And this obviously isn't the new edition because it looks much more pristine. But anytime I wanted to use it, and I have one there, I guess, still, and new ones, on file or on deck. But it's always coolest to use the original one.
I'm going to use mine until it absolutely falls apart. It's all shredded. Like, look at the edges on it, man. That's like beat. That is beat, man, in every way.
It doesn't have the gold cover yet, or the gold foil and the edges and so on.
Right.
So
The
just
original.
about the story, it's basically just what Brian said, and I was. I guess I bought my first tarot when I was 17, Rider-Waite tarot, just playing around with it, trying to start to understand what these things could possibly mean. And a few years later, I made time. I quit with all the standard routine stuff, which I wasn't interested in anyhow. And I was like, okay, gotta learn tarot. And of course, obviously, the Thoth tarot was my first, if I said it wrong now. Was the first one. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a Rider-Waite. Then I also understood, actually later for Brian, how perfect Rider-Waite is to understand the basics, also because of that book by Faith Gervain and Dusty Bunker called The Divine Triangle, which I can recommend so much. So also this comes to Brian as well. But basically I was like, okay, I want to get like a proper deck, which is not just the deck everyone knows. So let's see what kind of decks there are.
Right.
So I looked online, you look everywhere, and then you have, elven decks and woodland decks and standard 78 card decks, all these oracle decks. They all have different styles. It was clear to me I wanted the regular deck at that point, just because it uses the same reference system.
Right.
But it was also clear that, I didn't want any, and I can appreciate every type of artistic expression, or is to be appreciated, but there are certain styles which one resonates with more or less, and many of them seem more like kitschy maybe, or some are really dark. There's also stuff like zombie tarot, which wouldn't be my style, but whatever, it's a flavor for everybody.
Right.
And then you have these how would you even say it, incense hyperdimensional entity snapshots that Brian does, and that's just a completely different ballgame. That's a completely different level. And also because I'm also analytical and like to understand and frame things around the frames, as I'm sure you discussed, you have all the meanings, you have all the symbols, you have different systems. So it's a really syncretic portal to many different approaches within one card. So it's holographic in that sense, not only the pictures, but also the setup and the meaning and the understanding and the frame. So it was like, okay, to learn it, that's perfect. And because anyhow, if I remember an image, it's best to remember or memorize the Rider-Waite for me, just because it's the clearest in the story.
Sure.
But other than that, I just need a holographic portal. And once I know what four of whatever generally means, I have more definitions here, I have the systems here. And it's also nice for any tarot reader, because I can tell you none of your clients ever seen this deck, So like...
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. How much are you paying him for this commercial? That was a great ad for your deck. No, but it's true. I always tell Brian how much dimension there is to it, how many layers there are to it, and also just again how representative it is of his personality and who he is. It's just it's such a reflection of him as a person, as an artist. It's just.
But then also, if we put it on that level as a parallel, and this may be, how do you say, patting on the back or whatever, but I don't care. Just look at the different decks existing and tell me which one looks the most avant-garde or something, which is not AI generated, which looks the most interesting, has the most novel style. There is no other deck like this. It's just a fact, So
Absolutely. Wonderful.
You know,
Excellent.
one of the most satisfying things about the whole deck experience for me has been the community around Raphael that's like sprung up out over there, and so many of those people have become friends and like
That's awesome.
communicate, and like, you know, the deck has become kind of a unifying factor through that, you know, and it's really
That's awesome,
really
dude.
Think of it. Even the telekinetic conference episode was with a friend whose husband, something along those lines, actually had at the very least the angel deck. You know, because people, you just show them and then they're like very attracted to something particular.
Sure.
And, you know, these things connect, you know, so it's pretty cool. So, yeah.
That's cool. And did we say where you were? You're in Vienna, correct?
Indeed, yes. Vienna,
That's
Austria,
awesome.
yeah.
That in Vienna, Austria. So we've had Helsinki, Vienna, and the 11th dimension. Is that where Creepy Baby's from?
Yes, actually, he's from every dimension. He's
every dimension, from every dimension.
Multi-dimensional, interdimensional taxi driver.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, I forgot to mention we have I put your QR codes left and right here. I don't know if those work.
I saw that, man. Thank you.
I would love for someone to try those. Those take you to where you can purchase the deck and Brian's site, Wizard of Odd. And then on this side of me is the fine art. The fine art site.
Dude, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, man. I hope they work. Somebody try them and tell us in the chat if they work.
Yeah.
So Brian, you'd be proud of me. I was like, you know what? I really gotta buckle down a little bit. And I did a little bit of research. And I found a couple of different things. I found this chart. I don't know what you might think of this. Let me see if this is where it's not working. Hold on a second. Why is this not working? I can't share this one. I don't know why I can't share that one, but I found, maybe I can. Maybe is it not just, I don't know why it won't, there we go. Okay. So it accepted the image. So if I had never seen these symbols before. So in my search, I was looking for a chart of the elemental dignities and just kind of like almost like
you've never seen those symbols before?
Well, I not in our show. We haven't discussed them. You know, we haven't specifically discussed these, and I know they're so basic.
Frere.
Well, not. I don't.
Those symbols are at the top of every card. The top right-hand corner
to indicate which elemental dignity, right?
Exactly.
So I've been kind of trying to lay excuses on you about that. I'm trying to produce the show, and it's hard to like listen and learn and take notes. And so I did start taking some more notes, and I made a page with the elemental dignities, and I'm writing notes. The other chart I'm trying to bring up is a chart that relates them all together. Maybe there it goes. What do you think of this chart? Is this chart something I should look at, or is this a decent I guess representation of?
Then just because of the way you're showing it, this reminds me of another thing, and how everything is, you know, future proofs past, or whatever people say nowadays. In high school, I believe even in biology, for the strangest reason, we had to do like some small presentations. And one of the available topics actually was alchemy. You know, it wasn't very advanced, but there was one of exactly these charts, or this is something we came up with or something. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, just on the first blush on that, it looks pretty good. You know, you got your fire opposed to the water, which are the two detriments, and then you have got air and swords, which is the same thing. Let's see, they don't really have directions set up, so you can't really say anything about that. The hot, dry, moist, cold, those are all accurate. You know, so just as kind of a visual thing, if that helps you, certainly.
Yeah, I think the visuals and the words were helping me just kind of make the connections. That you ask me questions and I get all nervous and I make a mistake, and I'm like, wait, I can definitely. This is simple.
You know what,
stuff,
Michael?
you know?
You're an artist, dude. So I will throw this out to you, man. The thing that helped me the most, was making my own drawings. You know. You can take it. And
that's why I got this. I got this book. I'm ready to I got a pencil instead of a pen. I'm ready to go. I'm like, I'm going back. I'm going back to the. I'm going back to the basics.
You're learning these things. Make little thumbnails that just like are visual triggers to like that information.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was thinking. And Raphael tried the QR codes for us, and he says yes, they work. So that's awesome. Thanks, Raphael.
All right. So take us through the aces. All right. First of all, since you brought up the elements, here, let's do this. Tell me what, in a word, define the four elements.
The four elements?
Yeah. First of all, what are the four elements?
Well, fire, air, water, earth.
Okay. So fire, in a word, what would you define that as? What's that about?
Fire is the energy of creation.
One word, energy. Okay, water, what's that about?
Water is the flow.
No. Come on, you got it. It's how you feel, man. It's emotions.
Emotions. Okay, right. I remember you were using those words, right? Okay.
Right? So so air, what's that about?
Air is about
what you're doing right this second.
Breathing, hopefully.
Thinking.
Okay. Thinking, right.
It's about mental actions. Fire is the inception of an idea. The water is the emotion and the shaping of that into a desire. The air then is the mental acuity and systems that go into actually making that happen. And then
Earth is material. Earth is
exactly. Which is a great segue into what we're talking about tonight, which are the fours. Awesome. Yeah. So last week we were talking about the threes. And, the threes are about creativity, and it's those moments where it has gone from the aces are the archetypes of all of those elements. They're the purest, unprogrammed definition of those energies. And then when you get to the twos start shaping that. The twos start feeling that. The twos separate that. It's now no longer just a large piece of energy. Now it's a piece of energy that's considering itself. It's a duality now. Mm-hmm. And then from the twos, you move into the threes, which is now taking that duality and that consideration of what's working in those planes and starting to make that into something and planning that and that creativity that goes into that and how those things manifest. And now we actually get to the fours. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Four of Wands. So anything why don't you start that, Mr. Zen? What you know about the Four of Wands?
What do I know about the Four of Wands?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I haven't done any preparation or reading. I'm here to learn.
Okay. Well, really great way to learn is take advantage of that little tool that's in your little deck box.
I know the book. I know.
Yeah. Well, go to the Four of Wands.
Oh, you want me to do it right now?
And read that motherfucker, man. I mean, if you're stuck for knowing what it is, man, pull the thing out. You don't need to do that now, but man,
we don't even need to go so far. Why not just read? Why not just read what's on the frame? It's a good start.
Cheat sheet, you might as well use it, my brother.
Well, I don't have the cards. I have the book in front of me. So this is what you said to describe the episode, which is the four corner poles of the celebration tent.
That's exactly right, and that's why I use that line. And that's that's exactly where it is. You've looked from you've come from the Three of Wands, which is somebody like just coming into their own and seeing their ship starting to come in and kind of overseeing this collection of things that they've been working on. And then you get to the Four of Wands, and it's now like the four corners of the celebration tent. Now it's that ecstatic energy as things are actually starting to come into manifestation. And that, in essence, is what the fours are about: manifestation and stability. You know, where the triangle is the strongest geometric shape, the square is the most stable. And that is consistent with four corners and that balance of that. You know, anything that are odd numbers, there's a kinetic aspect to those, because there's always you can't divide that in half. You can't do a duality with an odd number. And the even numbers are all kind of in balance and have that balance. And that's the stability of the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands, you know, a lot of people use that as a indicator of success about to come. Then you go to the Four of Cups, and that's like the day after. You know, the Four of Wands is like the celebration and like the four corners of the celebration tent, and it's this intense energy. And then the Four of Cups winds up being like the day after the celebration. You know, and it's the hangover after the celebration. It's the bill after the celebration. It's the kind of like the crash into reality after the fantasy has been there. You know, especially the cup, the card that Four of Cups is coming after is the Three of Cups, that's the celebration at the wedding. You know,
yeah, I was going to say, I thought that we were talking about that last week, about the celebration at the wedding was the Three of Cups.
We're not talking about the actual celebration with the four corners of the celebration tent. No, we're talking about the four corners holding up the celebration tent with that stability. And that thing it's come to that spot where that's a possibility. And in truth, you know, we're still in the energy column on that. So there's still a lot of flow of energy that has to happen to get that to the cups, you know, but we're kind of going across horizontally right at the moment and just seeing where all those cups are. So you've come from the Three of Cups, which is the wedding celebration, the Four of Cups, which is the bill the next day, and that kind of like sort of crash feeling. And then you go to the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is the Four of Swords in the original Rider-Waite deck. It's a knight kind of laying back, and the swords are just sort of placed around him. And what that card really represents is the coming to healing and restoration after a really difficult battle. And it's a healing and recoup time. Yeah, rest and recompense after a really difficult battle. So you've had this really intense little celebration. You've now like had the crash into the next morning and the hangover, and now you're kind of in the, oh my goodness sakes, man, I got to get better, rest and recuperate after this. Okay, so then each of those is kind of like from the energy of the three, which was really intense and energetic, you get to these fours, and they're stable. They're like solid. The Four of Pentacles now represents this is where you've gotten cash. This is where you've made some money, and you've got this really big chest, and you put that money in this chest and lock it up. And you would think immediately that that's really good and that's a great way to go. But the truth of the matter is that once you lock it in that chest and it is now separated from the flow of that money circulating and growing, then it can really wind up just going away and sort of fading away and wind up, if you're misering it and holding it too tightly, that's a place where loss can happen and it will go away because you haven't put it into the flow of feeding new information and new flows of money. Money's not something that'll just sit there, man. You know, you want your money to work for you. You want your money to flow. You want your money to be part of the interconnection with other people, because that's what it actually is anyway. It's an exchange of
energy. Yeah.
Between people, right?
Yep.
So when that's there, there's a possibility for that to grow and continue to be alive. And when you put it in the chest, especially if you lose the key, that's where it's going to sit, and it's not going to serve anyone.
Right.
So across the board, all of those fours are about stability and solidity and the basis, you know, like a foundation kind of basis to build things on. Right?
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome.
Raphael, you got anything to add to that, or did you go to sleep already?
I was just looking at the beautiful cards.
You know, I really loved that card.
It's great. The swords one too was really, really nice. I think that's this one. No, the swords is this one. Yeah, I love this one too. Beautiful.
So I can just say in general, what helps me the most usually is to really understand the Rider-Waite storylines of it, or the images that they give. That's what helps me the most in terms of, you know, Fool's Journey. Like with Four of Swords, you have this man lying in a coffin. And then, you know, the other fun part I think about learning tarot is you can learn as many different definitions as you want. Ultimately, I would say everyone who reads tarot regularly or for some time, it's just like with listening to music. You come up with your own stories, your own definitions that fit the card. For example, this would be now Five of Swords, so I don't want to, you know, go ahead. But with different cards, you have different situations and so on. Then you relate these stories. And then also, because I would contend, no matter which tool of divination or insight, meditation, whatever you use, you're always communicating with your own higher self, or as Brian would probably say, your own guardian angel or algoides. And he will, or it will, or you will arrange everything for yourself in a way that you can understand it. Therefore, you will get a particular card with a particular meaning for you. But equally, if you're reading for someone and the cards or the reality knows you're interpreting them, it will still give you also a meaning that is your story that's relevant to relate to that individual. They may have their own part, and it may give a new spin, and you can continue learning through that. That's usually how it works for me. So yeah.
Interesting. No, that's interesting. I have a friend who is a medium, and it's very similar as far as the way the communication happens, you know, and you relate stories about your own experiences, you know, and your own stories, and helps convey the message.
And to anyone who feels for whatever reason, sorry, I'm taking your voice, Brian.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Because to anyone who feels for whatever reason they're not ready to, you know, do mediumship, or they don't feel grounded enough, or whatever it may be for them, or they think, because everyone does, they think they don't have a clear access to their intuition. I just use the cards, and I can have a frozen image of my fluid consciousness right there, and then I just apply attention to it, sleep over it, whatever, and I will gain the insight if I ask for it. So it's just a great reflection, reminder, access tool that can work for anybody. So
I love what you're saying, Raphael. Thank you for sharing that. That's definitely going to help me a bit. And it's definitely true. You know, I think everybody has the ability to access it and understand it. And what you just said made so much sense.
You know, the tarot has been around for a very long time, so it has a lot of pre-established meanings, you know, so taking that and making, you know, it's kind of good to start with the original meanings of the cards and venture off from there, you know, like Raphael. Rider-Waite, you know, it's a great deck to have, you know, every tarot reader should probably have that deck, you know. But once you start venturing out, you realize that what you're doing is you're teaching your higher self a system of symbols, so that anything could be an oracle. You know, I've made an oracle out of 64 crayons in a Crayola crayon box. You know, I've crushed pennies on the railroad tracks, and my friend Brannon is the one that came up with that and turned me onto that. And you know, there's like a million different stones and way things drop, and drops of liquid mercury. I mean, like the number of possibilities for that are infinite. And the reason that's the case is if you spend enough time with your higher self teaching it those symbols so that it becomes a language between you, and those become the meaning for it every time. That's the key to it. You know, the gray crayon has got to mean the same every single time, or, you know, it's just a lot of random goo, you know.
Right,
But if
right.
you're using those to really as symbols to attach to a deeper astral connection to something, then
Right.
you know those things that have that long-term meaning, and the longer you use them, the quicker those wind up being. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's so much. I heard some coworkers talking today, and they're some people who I don't usually consider very spiritual. You know, like, I mean, they are. You know, everybody is in their own way, and it's not a judgment at all. But they don't have the discussions, you know, about these things usually. And I think they were talking about somebody had done tarot for one of them, and they were just so amazed how spot on it was, and I think my point is that I feel like anybody who's really getting involved in tarot, I mean, even if like somebody's skeptical, but they've actually sat with somebody and gotten a reading, I think just the fact that they're putting that intention into it, you know, the intention is already there from the reader usually, whether they're good or bad reader, they still have that intention to get that message and channel it themselves, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, there's always, I haven't seen many people say walk away from a tower reading and go like, that was way off, you know. I mean, and
Really?
I'm not saying there's never been a
A
bad
lot of those,
reading.
actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you have.
yeah.
I mean, I don't
Well,
know, I
dude, to
feel.
be honest, I mean, there's like, you know, that's one of the kind of things that has always sort of bothered me about the money aspect of it.
Mhm, mhm,
You know, because as soon as, you know, it's a for profit kind of scenario, then
mhm.
the purity of the intention kind of gets lost a little bit for me,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And I think that there are a lot of people that, you know, like knowing how to tell people what they want to hear is a skill and a business and an effect
Oh,
all on
certainly.
its own.
Certainly.
And there are
I don't think it was a professional reading. I think it was something like a friend was doing for a friend.
right, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But and I guess maybe, and that might be what I'm referring to actually, because I don't really see a lot of professional readings. It's usually like I experience third hand, you know, stories secondhand from people who have gotten readings from people who are friends, not who have gone to get a professional reading, you know, and that could just be why I'm seeing that positive reaction all the time, you know.
So, Raphael, what are you into these days, man? What shows are you working on? What do you got going
Well,
on?
we've got some links for to share with him
I'll
too.
talk about those in a second. There were two things on my mind: numerology and something else you just spoke about right now, and I completely lost my train of thought. What did you just talk about this moment right now? Both of you? You should know. Come on, I'm breaking the
That was a
hyperspace.
moment ago. We're not in that moment anymore. We're in a different moment now.
Right.
Oh man,
So
pass the ball.
talking about readers. So numerology
Yeah.
second, and first about readers.
Yes.
So because one could argue Brian is offering a professional card readings as well. So it's obvious, you know, seeing it neutrally, it's not really about whether money is involved, even any amount. It's about the integrity of the reader.
Mhm.
But of course, the bad
Absolutely.
image that even recently in some local Austrian very famous sitcom show from the 90s, there's also this like fake psychic, and she's manipulating people. She's an old lady, you know. So they always kind of skew it in that sense. And I'm sure there's many of these cases. And even I experienced one. I went to New York for first time in 2015, and walking down the street in Brooklyn and just looking, and there was like psychic reading, $10 or something. And I was like, oh, I never seen this before, you know, like in Europe or whatever, nowhere ever. So I was like, I have to go inside. I have to see what's up. So I knock or something. There's some small girl, lady, I don't know. She looked, you know, if it's allowed to say, somehow like yeah, but this is the proper word. You know, in Europe, they with the correctness, they would now still look Roma and Sinti-ish, you know, traditional way to say it would be gypsy, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
just a frame, right? But she
Yeah.
was really tiny, and she did like psychic mediumship reading, and she said a few things, got quite a few things actually pretty spot on. So it was like, oh, you know, she's connected. But the first thing she said is, okay, it's not $10, it's 20, because that was like old offer or something. Was like, okay, that's the first trick. You can have 20, I don't care. And then after telling me these things, and quite a few things that certainly resonated, and I would say, at least to some extent, have to be pulled from somewhere, otherwise she couldn't have cued them. And then she said, yeah, but this and that lady, let's say, is blocking your entity, of whom she previously guessed the first letter from, of course, of her name, you know. So she's blocking your energy. Should I remove this energy for you? You know, it will only be another payment. I was like, yeah, no, I'm trained enough in manipulation tactics to not start going down that road. You know, the first 100% extra you can have, but here, we stop here. I'll clear it myself. Thank you. But yeah, so these do exist, but it's about the integrity of the reader as to what you can receive, I would say. So yeah, just to point that out. And then about numerology. So because we first connected through numerology, and then we discovered we actually have even the same numbers partially, or at least my chosen number and his life number. And for me, this chosen number is it's like etched into my physical reality. Like the door out there has the number. It's too many strange stories I could tell you, which wouldn't make sense.
Crazy.
I made a list even years ago already when I didn't know about all of this, and I was like, how is this even possible? You know, and it's a 2-digit number, upper 20s, so it's 26 actually, just like my channel name. So it's not even something secret. So you couldn't, this wouldn't be possible. So numerology has a place, but especially then with the cards. And once you learn, like through this Divine Triangle book, the correspondences between the numerology, so the counting, and the cards. So for example, I can tell you straight away, 4 of Wands is 27, 8, 9, 27, 8, 9, 30 is 30. Yeah, 4 of Wands. So, and then once you know that, and especially if you're into it, then anywhere you see a number, you don't see numbers anymore. It starts, you know, the images start like coming out of the numbers. And then you have like pictograms, you know. This could also be even a great technique for memory palaces. And I think even some people use it that way, actually, even some famous people, I believe, or, you know, on some game show or something. I think I heard some of those stories. So it's just cool because then you have these pictograms everywhere. And anytime you could ask a question or any insight, you do it with intent and you're in the zone. You look at the next, how do you call it? Car backplate, and it can give you a pretty good clue. Or you do the combination of the numbers plus the letter, which has a number 2. You reduce it, and you have a 1-card answer. You know, if you want it clear. Just
I
if you
only
want
know
a
a
yes
few
or no,
people who
or
could do
whatever.
that, and you're sitting right next to one of them.
Yeah. So just once you really get into it, and then especially with this Divine Triangle book, and really understanding the basic structure is not so hard, because it's a 22 arcana first, and then it's just always 1 to 10 of the first element, court cards of the first element, fire, and then it continues the same with water, air, earth, you know. And once you kind of get to that, it's really just blocks, which are not so hard to learn.
If you watch earlier in our season, you'll see Brian went on a random journey and found a tombstone, and it led us down this journey where he was drawing on his walls, and like
we gotta get him in. We gotta get him in the puzzle, man.
It's amazing. It's so amazing to actually like see people who are so connected to that energy, you know, that they don't even see words and letters and numbers. They just, it's like, it's all energy, you know what I mean?
It's like the frequency. Exactly.
Yeah, there's symbols that bring it down to earth and put it in the tarot decks and put it on the tombstones, but like it's all about energy.
And on an easily explainable level, it really sparks storytelling ability, and it also sparks this idea of a photographic imagination, or however you want to call it. So seeing the world in images. And this can help for so many different things, and the archetypes, of course, as well. So and the other thing I wanted to say is, it's then when you are in that zone, it's almost like you start seeing a layer of the astral, which you are, because you see a number, but in your imagination immediately it gets translated. So you can even kind of rediscover this process, which is anyhow hardwired or etched into us through upbringing and so on. But you can recognize that process again and learn or observe yourself how this can be rewritten. And then suddenly you notice, like I said, you don't see numbers anymore. You immediately see these things. And this is how you can see how much effect you actually have and how much of these astrolomental spheres you can see. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's pretty cool.
This is I think you're giving away some of Brian's secrets of how he got to the 11th band.
No, I'm over the top and he got it, man. Then he like,
no, but yeah, I see how excited you're getting.
now.
That's how you got to the 11th band, I think, using some of that information. For sure. Jilly is asking you, what is your birthday, Raph? So
okay, then full disclosure. Well, if people want to know, it's basically the 26th, so surprise again, of September 1989.
There you go. So
yeah.
Jilly may be doing a little bit of write up. So I put these links into a banner. Let's put them up. What have you got going on? Tell us a little bit more about what you do and what people will find at these. Well, yes. And the one link is at one of the decks that you use.
Right. So first I'll show the deck. So this is a deck by Lissa Royal called, I have put my own stickers on there, but it's called a Galactic Heritage Tarot. It's a pretty cool deck. First of all, I mean, the images are great here, one of my favorites already. So you have these kind of alien-esque entities. With some of those images, literally took me weeks or months to even be able to properly look at. They are really, I think, yeah, also very special.
Like kind of cryptic in a way, like
exactly, that's the proper term. So, for example, this, like, what could this be? This could be so many things, like a depiction of a cell, some entities, or who knows what. Right. And the cool thing is it's 108 cards. So in a sense, it has a higher resolution than just one single card from a 78 deck, or a higher, it's the grain is, the gradient is more, is finer, let's say. And the other nice thing is it really tells I would say, neutral to positive, and also with psychospiritual relevance storyline of the whole relationship between humans and so-called extraterrestrials, where we're still gonna find out, hopefully soon enough, when all the CIA shenanigans are over with and Project Bluebeam has fired off, we'll actually find out what it really all means, and which ones are, which ones are deep state crafts, which ones are actual other cultures or something. But the storyline relayed in this book, and Lissa Royal has been channeling for many years, is really a neutral to very positive one. And even if one could leave or take the story, if you just understand the psychological value of the story itself being presented, it could also be used, interpreted as such, which I think is also great. So it's not like, oh, I have to buy the storyline, but I could just say, okay, it's a nice thought experiment, but I can use it to learn about different aspects, different ideas.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's, so from that point of view, it's great to learn about, I would say, a pretty good storyline about galactic history. That's also why I have past, present, future on there, and these different civilizations. It's, one could say, in a sense, it's just another archetype system as well. Yeah, but
wow, I love the intertwining of the whole idea of the tarot, which to me, up until this moment, was a very earthbound concept, and now you've kind of taken it outside of that realm. That's pretty cool. I got to check that out. Awesome. So tell us about your own. What are people going to find on your website?
Yes, so on my website, they won't find too much except a bunch of links. So right on the first page, you have like just synchronized whatever is happening on my channels, so in recent shows, let's say. And let's say the main threads I'm following up right now, one could say, are, so number one, we restarted again recently Team Rabbit Hole, where Brian has also been guest a few times, which is Team Rabbit Hole is basically like a phenomenological experiential podcast of just the coolest people we know and interviewing them for 2 hours, like full stream, asking them all the questions about their life till they don't want to tell anymore, and then usually 1 hour of topical discussion about whatever they're most interested in. And we have really had, I would say, a lot of really cool people. The one to name drop is always Richard Sheldrake, is his name, right? He was written this book and so on. We somehow managed to get him. But aside from this, many also very unknown people, but everyone has a cool story, which is kind of a part of the idea of that podcast, to kind of show that, you could be the most unknown, regular, whoever, you also have some cool story, inside idea. And this was kind of our idea, which we wanted to show through that podcast.
Yeah.
That's number one. Then I'm producing all kinds of different shows for OK Talk or with OK Talk. These are mainly in German, with from like doctors talking about holistic medicine to recently we talked about communication theory and authenticity and whatever else, so all kinds of things. And the third thread is particular series of interviews, translations, and shows with Andreas Exerdes, who's one of the most crazy genius people that I know. His channel is at XIRTUS, Exerdes. And this is the whole history and what really happened to our past Tartaria research angle, if you ever heard about that, all culminating or really set off rather by Anatoly Fomenko, a professor from Moscow State University, mathematician, who basically showed that a lot of the history books we are presented with appear to be copy-paste, pattern switched, where you have, just translated names, kings in England, kings in France, 200 years apart, exactly the same time, same names, and it just seems to be like a pattern that's repeated. Yeah, he could show that scientifically along with many other things, and out of that, the whole Tartaria thing, because Tartaria is on all kinds of old maps, but you never heard of it probably as a state or something. But there's clear atlases of like up to 1870 or something, where in the middle you have US and so on, maritime like this and that, and then you have Empire of Tartary, and you have independent Tartary and all these things. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but if I never ever heard about this in school, I would pretty much bet everything and guarantee, even if I still don't know exactly what it is, there's something extremely relevant for us if it's
wow. So this is certainly a lot of, you just said the rabbit hole, right? Is that what it's I'm excited because it really, what you're saying about your shows, like that's what I've come to love about this platform and this moment right here that we're in, talking to each other and just being available for other people to watch and resonate with, and kind of receive that information. Like you said, people are going to receive the information when they're ready. And you know what, there's got to be some people putting that information out there, right? So I love it. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it sounds like you got so much great stuff going on. I love it. You can finish up. Sorry.
Exactly. So all the best stuff collected. And the most recent series of interviews on my YouTube channel is with David Ewing Jr., who's another completely amazing guy from Manchester, UK. And he's also done lots of historical research. He's from a, let's say, interesting background where he got exposed to many religious books early as well. And and I've been into this for years and years and years, all different layers of conspiracies, different angles of anything, everything is quite complex and convoluted, often with all kinds of secret factions in the background and probably magical wars above them or at the same time.
Yeah.
All of those, it always goes into the occult, right, as well, and religion. And he's just delivering some information which is where even I was like, wow, like, can it be that big of a scam? And it really appears to be such a scam, even still to today. And he's trying to show that with like numerological analysis of certain things. For example, one simple thing to watch out is the 19. And there he's written books on this and showing all of that. But mainly, let's say, revising what many would consider to be standard tropes about history, where we say, oh, everyone knows it happened this way. Everybody knows there was the 19th dynasty with Tutankhamun dying at age 19 in 4000 BC. Yeah. But then if carbon dating is kind of flaky, and looking at this more in detail, you see all these strange groups moving around there in 1900. For example, in Ephesus in Greece, there was nothing there. 20 years later, it's the most important archaeological site for all the ancient cultures. So just to say it in one sentence, it appears also with the whole Tartaria angle that only very recently, maybe 150 up to maximum 500 years ago, there was some kind of a more unified and globalized, potentially in a positive way, civilization. And later on, the new controllers or whatever came in and forged a new timeline for every nation to justify that and really make the divide and conquer much more easier, and to hide that there was something, I don't want to say greater, but I believe that, because otherwise the current system wouldn't do everything to hide it so badly.
So It sounds very cyclical, right? It sounds like we're back at that place that you're describing in a way at some of those points. Very how is your brain not exploding, man? You are just full of so much knowledge, and it seems like you really explore so many, like, you know.
Raphael's a genius. He really
Yeah,
is.
man, that's awesome, Raphael. I'm feeling it just by talking to you and
I
listening
also
to
do
you.
channeling, so that's the real energy transmission, is when you can sense the zone.
Yeah,
And it's
oh, I'm
not
feeling
me.
it. I'm
You know
totally
what
feeling it.
what they see, you can only experience what you already contain within yourself. And certain individual, everyone is gifted with certain skills and certain particular ingrained relays that can work very effectively. And this is one of my abilities in certain cases, to relay that frequency tuning. Everyone can tune in themselves, and then there's a lot to see there.
I
Yeah.
love it. We have to definitely have a conversation because you have something to tell me, I think, or I know that you do, and I have something to hear. So
Great.
I'm trying
Perfect.
to keep you guys up for a long time.
yeah, that there's definitely some keys that you're holding for me that you're going to pass on to me and allow me to go through some
Well, I
doors.
mean, you certainly should have him on the live stream.
Yeah, oh, 1,000,000%. That's I had thought of that 30 minutes ago. So so I hate to cut you off, but we probably should start wrapping it up. I mean,
Well, you're just going to have to come back on, man.
yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on. I'm definitely gonna have to have you on the live stream if you would do me the honors.
Sure.
Jilly was asking. First of all, I just want to acknowledge some of our audience out there. Celestial was loving the deck that you were showing. She loves her work, and her whole body of work. And Julie was asking the deck name. I don't know if you actually said the name of the deck. I think you did.
Galactic Heritage
The
cards.
Galactic Heritage cards. Awesome. And Celestial's putting it there in the chat also. So thank you, Celestial. Thank you, all of you guys, for coming here and bringing your energy, because I definitely always feel it when you guys are here. I always feel connecting to Brian every Monday. I know, sometimes it gets intense, but I think that's all a part of how it's supposed to be. So
It's a good
Raphael,
oddcast. It's a Wizard of Oddcast.
it's a Wizard of Oddcast. So we will definitely have you back, Raphael. But do you have any words of wisdom for our audience before we sign off?
I think I spelled plenty beans. We'll continue next time.
You definitely
Hey, man,
have.
thank you for all the years, my brother.
Yeah,
a good friend, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Our viewers are
Thank
saying
you.
thank you. So stick around. I'm going to run the outro, and we will be back next week with the
See you
five.
guys.
See you guys.